from your local election headquarters. The only locally produced political talk show discussing the issues that matter to you. This is Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, thank you for being here for this week's edition of Big Country Politics. I'm Victor Sotelo. We start with what's making political headlines across the nation, state, and the big country. And right now, we're starting from our state legislature. This last week marked the end of the nearly 5 months of work at the state capitol. Lawmakers in the Texas House say this session had a different, more positive feel. KTAB's Steffi Lee speaks to some of them to find out why.
So I've always signed over here on top of the House.
State Representative Drew Springer has all the legislators in the Texas House sign his poster after the end of every session. They're red and blue and together.
But Texas, we intermix. We sit with each other, we eat with each other.
And most lawmakers in this chamber felt like that was the tone from the start.
There was more a feeling of equity, of evenness.
I'm feeling great. It's been a great session, very productive.
They point to accomplishments on top priorities: a balanced budget, property tax reform, and school finance.
I think that has to be our biggest victory this session, and I think that whether you're Republican, Democrat, I think everybody was incredibly happy with how that turned out.
Outside of those topics, lawmakers also addressed other critical issues, like getting a statewide flood plan.
If and when, we have additional natural disasters and flood problems, the planning that can start now will really make a difference to prevent some of the catastrophic damage that we have suffered with hurricanes and the likes.
And the problem of child sex trafficking.
Minors will no longer be arrested for the crime of prostitution. We'll be sending these children to local care coordinators where they're eligible for emergency housing, medical treatment.
But the work never stops.
There's always business left undone, and certainly I don't think there's anybody that would say every issue's been tackled.
And Governor Abbott will have until June 16th to sign or veto bills that made it to his desk. If he does not sign or veto the bill, it goes into effect immediately. And more news from Austin. Starting in September, plumbers making house calls may be licensed or they may not be. This all comes after the Texas legislature voted on a bill this last week to deregulate plumbing industry. This allows anyone to call themselves a plumber, taking away the requirement for new plumbers to be licensed and taking away a current license to existing companies like Black Plumbing here in Abilene.
Everybody that's worked so hard and gone through all the training, the years and years of being trained, the years of being tested, the years of continuing education, all that just goes out the window because we don't know our future.
The regulation decisions are now up to each city and county to decide separately. Black says he's hoping the state legislature calls a special session to get this resolved in the next couple of months before more problems arise. And still to come on here on Big Country Politics, we're sitting down with Congressman Jody Arrington. We're talking all things Abilene and the Big Country. We're back in 2 minutes.
From your local election headquarters, this is Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Okay, welcome back to Big Country Politics. We are with Congressman Jody Arrington. Thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. Well, I just want to talk to you, first of all, a couple of local things. Had a recent tornado here in Abilene. Yeah. Apparently you've talked to local officials.
I have. I grew up in Tornado Alley. You know, that's what we call this part of the state of Texas and country. So even though we're used to the weather patterns, it's always scary when you get a tornado touchdown in a population center like Abilene. Thank God nobody was injured and or killed as a result. So that's the first thing, is to just say thank you, God, for that protection, because you can build buildings back, right? You can build the infrastructure, but you can't get the lives back. So I talked to the mayor and other local officials. They're all on top of it. I'm not surprised by the incredibly positive response from the folks here locally who want to help. I know they have like a private funding site to support people on the private side. But yeah, where we need to provide support on the federal side of things, that we stand ready to do so. That was my message. Main thing is to just, get out of the mayor's way and let the local and state and private insurance folks work to assess the damage and then apply their assistance, and then we come in again where it's appropriate. I'm going to carry the water for Abilene, and happy to do so.
You grew up in Tornado Alley. Did you ever experience a tornado?
I remember standing on my roof. This is not something I would advise the young people to do from Plainview. We were in the storm cellar often with our little radio on, listening, and that was just part of life in West Texas and on the plains of Texas. So, yeah, I remember standing on the roof of our house and seeing a funnel cloud form and drop, and it was very ominous, very scary. And yeah, they do tremendous damage. I think they celebrated 100 years from the touchdown of the tornado that did so much destruction in Lubbock. So these are real threats to this part of the country, and people have to take them seriously. Again, thank God nobody was hurt. We'll get the infrastructure rebuilt, and we'll just give thanks that nobody's going to. We're not going to any funerals on account of it.
Yeah, exactly. But going back to seeing that funnel drop down, once you see that and you see that wall cloud, you'll recognize that anywhere, right?
Yeah, you never forget that. You see it in movies and on TV, but when you see it in person, like I said, it's very ominous, and you realize that Mother Nature is quite a force to reckon with. Yeah. And in fact, you don't reckon with it. You take shelter immediately, and you live to rebuild and fight another day. You don't try to be a hero and try to weather the storm without taking shelter. That's one thing folks need to understand, that you can't predict these things. So the best approach is an abundance of caution, and yeah, that's just part of growing up and living on the plains of West Texas and in Tornado Alley.
That's right.
Kind of like our folks, I married a gal from New Orleans, and they deal with hurricanes and flooding, and that's part of living there in the Gulf Coast area. So, yeah.
Let's another issue, and it's something we ask you about every time we talk to you, is where do we stand on B-21s, the new mission out at Dice?
Well, the B-21 is secured to be based here at Dice, and there are a couple of the weapons school and operational testing base are also going to be stationed here at Dice, which is going to make the Dice footprint expand. And the people of Abilene and the airmen at Dice can rest assured that we're going to have a mission for the remainder of the 21st century, and that's a big deal. It's $1 million a day to the local economy, as you know. But more importantly, West Texans are very proud of their airmen. They support them. Nobody does a better job than Abilene in that regard. That's why they named the trophy, the Abilene Trophy. Because of, you know, for those communities that support their airmen, nobody does it better than Abilene. And I think that was part of the process of Abilene being able to base the B-21.
Well, and everybody's talking about the B-21 and the new mission out at Dice, but you mentioned the weapons school. This is another thing that's coming with the B-21, right?
Yeah, you've got the weapons school and the operational testing facility. Now, the training facility where we train the B-1 pilots is going to another base, because while they're ramping up for the B-21 and winding down the B-1, we've got to continue with that training mission. So we logistically could not have the opportunity to be the training base, but to be the weapons school and the operational testing facility is huge. Like I said, that's going to be more investment in the brick and mortar, personnel, and certainly a commitment for our United States Air Force to be present and based here in Abilene for 75 plus years to come. And that's a big peace of mind for the folks in Abilene. And I can't imagine Abilene in West Texas without the airmen of Dias. So I think people should be proud of the airmen here and the work that they've done, the reputation they have, but also, again, the support that they've provided Abilene. I think that decision was in part a recognition to this community for a job well done over the years.
You said the B-1 training is going to go away eventually. When do you see that happening, you think?
Well, we're not going to see for probably 15, 20 years the beginning of the ramp up of the B-21, and then you'll have several years where one's coming online, the other one's winding down. So I think you're looking at 15, 20 years. So right now they've got to continue doing what they're doing, but again, with the exciting prospect of being the weapons school and the operational testing facility for the Raider, the B-21. And that's, you know, that's exciting. There was a time when we were wondering if we were going to be in the mix and if we were going to be relevant in the discussion of the next generation bomber, and that has been put to bed, and the United States stands behind Dias as the place for the weapons school and operational testing for the Raider, the B-21. So not only are we going to be a relevant base, we're going to be strategically important to the United States Air Force and Global Strike Command.
Awesome. All right, well, when we come back with Congressman Arrington, we're going to ask him about some stuff going on in Washington. We'll be right back.